Welcome back to Inside City Hall. From our exclusive interview last night to the front pages of today's newspapers, the feud between Mayor de Blasio and Governor Cuomo is the talk of the town. But how does this current test of wills and personalities compare to some of the legendary battles between City Hall and the second floor of the state capitol? Joining me now to talk more about it are three veteran observers and participants in New York politics. Sid Davidoff was a top aide to Mayor John Lindsay. Norman Steisel served as deputy mayor under Mayor David Dinkins, and George Arzt was press secretary for Mayor Ed Koch. Thank you all for being here. This is going to save me a little time because I would have probably tried to buttonhole each of you individually and said, hey, what's going on here? A lot of the friction between the governor and the mayor, any governor and any mayor, is institutional and somewhat intentional in the way things are set up, right? I mean, the mayor of the cities by law are in the statutory scheme of things, are a creature of the state, so the state kind of has the upper hand. On the other hand, Albany is not New York City. And a great deal of the wealth and the power and the media is all down here. So that sets things up for a collision course, right? And you guys have been in many of those collision courses. John Lindsay and Nelson Rockefeller, two big egos, two national figures.
You know, it got so bad that Lindsay in 1970 endorsed Arthur Goldberg, the Democratic opponent to Rockefeller for governor, and then switched parties afterwards. I mean, it was, the only surprising thing is that everybody's surprised by the fact that there should be it. And the one main story I can remember, and there was a lot of back and forth personalities. Rockefeller actually, during a 10-day garbage strike, tried to take control by saying it was a state health emergency, tried to take control of the sanitation department. And the legislature stopped. I mean, we're talking about coming down and actually taking control of a department. It was tough.
I'm envisioning an armed confrontation, like the cops versus the state police or something like that. I mean, how crazy could it have gotten, right?
John Lindsay had called for the governor in the middle of, while the governor's trying to run for president, to bring in the National Guard to pick up the garbage, knowing that the governor would never go along with it. Can you imagine armed National Guardsmen coming in and picking up garbage in New York City? So, I mean, it gets, this. The issue between the mayor and the governor now, between de Blasio and Cuomo, this is really, this is necessarily adversary because of the very system that's set up. And we got expected. The other guys will tell you stories in their administrations. I can't think of one where there was not this kind of adversarial relationship.
And there's sort of an underlying friction, right, between. Or I should say, sort of a day-to-day. There's supposed to be an operation in the state capitol of the lobbyists, for lack of a better word, the mayor's staffers who are supposed to be overseeing the legislation, talking with the legislators every day. That in itself can sort of lead to friction, slights, perceived slights, real differences, right?
Right, yeah, a lot of it can be unfortunately colored by that kind of interaction. But I think it really goes back to, I think you hit it right on the head when you talked about this institutional clash. As you pointed out correctly, the city is a creature of the state, and virtually any important measure it wants to pursue legislatively or financially, it needs the help of the state, and in turn the governor sort of manages that entire process for better or worse. And I think some of the stories that Sid related sound like pretty severe conflicts. They seem a little humorous now in retrospect. Some of the aspects of it, they had a certain kind of clownish quality in some regards. But I mean, look even at when Mayor Beam. I mean, after being dissatisfied with the way he was handling the financial situation in the city and denying, in fact, how severe the city's problems were. Governor Carey had to move really basically to bring in a whole new apparatus to oversee the management of the city. The financial
thought about impeaching him.
Yes, he did, and of course made it virtually impossible, even though Beam ultimately brought in a new financial team with some very distinguished people and started to get a handle on the city's finances. He made it impossible for Beam to seek re-election, and Beam left at the end of his term.
He lost. Came in third.
Yeah, but there was a lot of pressure on him to withdraw from the race, and I think, I think as a matter of pride, he had it run. But it was pretty. The handwriting was on the wall.
And now, of course, in the case of Ed Koch, he wins a smashing re-election in 1981. He immediately turns around to run for governor in 1982, is a front runner, loses to Mario Cuomo, and then they have to get along.
That part is true, but don't forget, Koch came in under Hugh Carey. Hugh Carey supported Cuomo, and the first thing Hugh Carey wanted to do is get Koch's support for Westway, and so he told him, you know, what's in it for me, and Carey says, what do you want? And said, I want you to save the fare, and said, okay, you got it, and a couple of years later, Carey raises the fare. Koch goes to Carey and said, we had an ironclad agreement. And Koch said, you should have gotten it in steel, iron rusts.
Well, right. I mean, these that's a great story. What should this governor and this mayor be doing? I mean, what the mayor laid out yesterday was basically saying there's a transactional model up in Albany where, you know, healthcare is traded for education and public safety is traded for housing and everything's in the mix, and that he wants to get away from that. Is that a realistic way to deal with any governor, and in particular this governor?
Well, I don't know if it's realistic. I think that this is, look, there's too much to lose by both guys here. You know, they have to come together, and they will. I know both of them pretty well. Probably all of us here do. Both strong personalities, both believe in what they are about. But in the final analysis, neither one wants to hurt the state or the city. And I got to believe that they will, in the end, sit down and figure this out. In the meantime, the staffs will run as they have, you know, the day-to-day government. The staffs will work together. Neither one can afford a disaster here. So they'll come together.
What should the governor do? I mean, the ball's sort of in his court. We're waiting to hear back from him.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I have no idea. I mean, this is, while you've got to look far back, as Sid pointed out in the Lindsay administration, my own experience when David Dinkins was mayor, we also had tremendous challenges we faced because we felt the governor, Mario Cuomo, wasn't supportive enough as the city was trying to work its way through a very difficult recessionary period. And many of the issues that are being debated today about how much support should be brought to bear for the MTA, for example, or to the school systems, what is an equitable financing of the school system, were all issues we played out. Dinkins, of course, is a very gracious personality, while he felt strongly that the governor, I'm sorry, wasn't responsive, and even respecting him. He never sort of would talk about it in the way this mayor has chosen, and with somebody who probably would have felt the same sting as his son, the current governor, is feeling. So I never saw the dynamic. To me, this part of it is so unusual. I'm not sure what the governor does.
You raise a point by bringing up David Dinkins. I mean, they both have mayors and governors. They have a mansion. They have an Air Force. They have the ability to charm each other, which all politicians do, and yet it doesn't seem to be a tool that either of them is interested in using right now.
It's true. They both have they both have their own turf. I remembered Pataki used to hate coming down to New York City because he would have to go into press conference with Giuliani, who would overshadow him. And, you know, and Xenia Muka, Pataki's number one aide, really, just was writhing in pain and telling every reporter, there's nothing you can do about it. You can try to de-escalate, but you have to work together because it doesn't help either office holder to escalate this anymore.
Okay, you all of the staff members who are watching, you heard it from three of the wisest. Thank you guys for coming in tonight. Very good to talk with you. We're going to take a short break now, and then straight ahead find out what Curtis Lewa and Herson Barrero have to say about Donald Trump's latest troubles. That's in the Political Rundown straight ahead. Stay with us.